هم ينظرون إن شاء الله. وبعد. Yesterday we spoke about the hadith where the Prophet alayhi salatu wa taslim, he mentions the three qualities that we need to bear in mind in any relationship. The first is we should not have any animosity, any jealousy, any hatred. That's what we're not supposed to do. Second, we should be brethren. We should love one another like kinship as the slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third is, if anything happens, we need to make it a point not to distance ourselves for longer than 3 days. That's what we covered yesterday. So it reminds me of an incident between Zainab bint Jahsh radiallahu anha and Aisha radiallahu anha. There was a time in the life of Zainab radiallahu anha where she was so close to the Prophet ﷺ that our mother Aisha mentions that the only one person I felt competition with was none other than Zainab bint Jahsh. And there are incidents where she would try her best to get the upper hand. But she mentions Zainab was such a phenomenal human being that when Aisha was going through the difficulties of waqi'atul ifk, when the slanderous rumors were being circulated about Aisha radiallahu anha, the person who stood up in her defense was none other than Zainab. The Prophet ﷺ comes to Zainab and asks, "What can you tell me about Aisha?" And she says, "I only know good about her. She is righteous, she is pious. I can't say anything negative." And this obviously influenced the Prophet ﷺ's own decision and own thinking on the matter. And Aisha would say that despite whatever little competition we had going, till my whole life, my entire life, I always kept in mind the fact that that Zainab radiallahu anha did something for me, and I will always hold it in her favor. It's beautiful that the Sahaba, despite whatever misunderstandings they had, whatever competition they had, their character was never bitter or negative. And the Prophet ﷺ is telling us, لا يهجر أخاه المسلم فوق ثلاث, that a person should not avoid, abandon, break ties for more than 3 days. What's the relevance of 3 days? 3 days is enough time for me to sit down and think, okay, I disagreed with this person. I had a misunderstanding. We argued. Day 1, I just need to cool down. Just let off some steam. Day 2, I need to start thinking about it. Day 3, I need to make a plan now to go back and mend my relationship. And as I mentioned, it's not necessary that I mend my relationship the exact same way it was in the past. I need to just begin this conversation. So for instance, if me and my spouse were just not talking because of a heated argument that we had, okay, fine, one day we're not talking. By the next day, let me start a conversation. So for instance, if me and my spouse were not talking and she's cooking, I'll just come and, even if I'm not talking, I'll help out a bit. Or even if I'm not talking, I'll leave something over there, just to show that I'm initiating the conversation. And by the 3rd day, inshallah, we can pick it up as we were before, or at least work towards the process of healing. This is absolutely important, because shaitan could not have anything better done for him than seeing two people breaking off ties, especially Muslim brothers and sisters. Because when they break off ties, it ends up leading to much more fitna and much more harm in the community. Two people are in the masjid and they can't see eye to eye. Then this person ends up talking to another person, and that person talks to another person, so you have one group. That person talks to another person, he talks to another person, and you have another group. And all of a sudden you have a splinter. That's why as Muslims we need to try to get past our differences and to come to a solution. And I'll be the first one to admit this is not something easy. To come to a resolution is one of the most difficult things any of us can do. It's one of the most difficult things any of us can do because it involves ego, it involves honor, it involves hatred and anger. These are things that are not easy to overcome. But the least we can do is begin the process by taking a step in the right direction. And inshallah, even if we're not able to mend the relationship directly, we can get to the end result while we are on that journey of healing. And we learn from the Quran that no matter how bitter a relationship is, if one side initiates a positive attitude, it will eventually lead to a more healthy relationship. Why? Because Allah has promised us that those who do good, you will see that your relationship will be as though that was your best friend from all along. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable us, to allow us to better serve His deen and rectify all our relationships that may be sour. Jazakumullahu khairan wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.